Anxiety can make you feel as if you are trapped in a storm. Thick, dark clouds cover your mind, making it hard to see the light of hope ahead. The Buddha once taught, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This teaching reminds us that anxiety is not destiny, but only the result of passing thoughts in the mind. In today's video, we will explore 9 ways from Buddhist teachings to overcome anxiety, even in the most difficult times. These are not just ancient philosophies, but also practices proven by modern science and illuminated through real-life stories. You will see that each practice is like a deep breath, opening a doorway that leads you back to inner peace. This journey does not require you to change everything, but only to begin with your breath, with attention, and with one small step right now. So, allow yourself to set aside your worries for a while. Breathe in deeply, breathe out slowly, and begin this journey to discover the stillness within. 1. Thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are not the truth. This is one of the simplest yet most powerful truths in Buddhism. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha compared the human mind to a wild monkey, always leaping from one branch to another, from one fear to another worry. Have you ever felt this way? When a difficulty arises, it could be losing your job, a broken relationship, or some news that unsettles you. Immediately, your mind is filled with thoughts like, "I am not strong enough. Everything is falling apart. I will never get through this." But pause for a moment. Those statements are, in fact, only thoughts. They are not absolute truth. They are like clouds drifting across the sky, appearing and then disappearing. Yet, if you identify yourself with them, it can feel as if the whole sky is collapsing on you. Research from Harvard University shows that practicing mindfulness can reduce psychological stress levels by up to 30%. This means that when you learn to observe your thoughts without rushing to believe them, your mind becomes lighter and far more free. Imagine you are sitting beside a river. On the water, leaves are floating by. Each leaf is a thought. Some leaves carry worry, some hold hope, some are memories, and some are fears. You do not need to jump into the river to grab each leaf. You just sit there, breathe, and watch them drift away. The Buddha called this practice contemplation of the mind, observing the mind as it is, without judgment, without attachment. When you see an anxious thought arise, you can whisper to yourself, "This is just a thought. It is not me." To help you experience this more clearly, try a simple exercise right now. Close your eyes, breathe in deeply, and exhale slowly. When a thought arises, it could be a worry about tomorrow or an old memory. Instead of chasing after it, simply say quietly, "Hello, thought." Then return to your breath. Many Americans have practiced this and found peace. I remember a story about John, a man in New York. He worked in finance, a field where pressure never stops. Each morning, he often woke with a racing heart, his mind spinning with meetings, numbers, and the fear of failure. One day, he happened to hear about the practice of observing thoughts. He began trying it, just 5 minutes each morning. When an anxious thought came, he no longer let it sweep him away, but simply noted, "This is a thought." After a few weeks, he noticed his heartbeat steadied, and his anxiety decreased significantly. This shows that You do not need to eliminate thoughts. You only need to change the way you see them. When you stop believing every thought is true, you take back the power to guide your own mind. And from there, anxiety begins to dissolve. You can picture the mind as a movie screen. Every thought is just an image passing by. But the problem is, many times we forget that we are the ones sitting in the audience, not the characters in the film. When we believe that thoughts are real, we get pulled into the storyline our own mind is creating. A Buddhist student once asked Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, "How can I stop my worrying thoughts?" The teacher smiled and replied, "Do not try to stop them. Look at them the way you look at clouds in the sky. Clouds come and go, but the sky remains." This message feels very relevant to Americans today. In a society that is always busy and stressed, we often confuse I with my thoughts. But the truth is, you are greater than your thoughts. You are the witness of them. A study at Yale University showed that people who practiced distancing themselves from thoughts for 8 weeks experienced a clear reduction in anxiety and depression symptoms. This is scientific evidence for Buddhist wisdom that has existed for over 2,500 years. So how can you practice this today? First, set a small reminder during the day, maybe on your phone or a sticky note. Thoughts are not the truth. Whenever you feel anxious, look at that reminder and take 3 deep breaths. Second, try keeping a thought journal. Each evening, write down the 3 most common anxious thoughts. Then next to them, write, "This is just a thought." In this way, you are slowly training your mind not to identify with them. Third, share this experience with a friend. When you say out loud, "Today I realized my fear was only a thought," you are strengthening your belief that you can take charge. And most importantly, be patient. The mind is like a wild horse. It cannot be tamed overnight. But with each mindful breath, with every time you remind yourself, "This is just a thought," the horse slowly becomes gentle. Try it today. When an anxiety arises, instead of reacting or running away, simply smile and say, "Hello, thought." Then let it pass. You will see. One day, the clouds of anxiety will grow thinner, and the peaceful sky that has always been there will shine through. 2. Live in the present. Living in the present moment is the key to overcoming anxiety. The Buddha taught in the Bhaddhakarata Sutta, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." Pause for a moment and think, where does anxiety truly come from? From the past, which we cannot change, or from the future, which we do not yet know? Meanwhile, the present, this very moment, is usually safer than we imagine. You might be sitting in a chair right now, listening to this voice, and still breathing. That means, in this moment, you are okay. Even if storms of thought rise up, here and now, you are alive. Scientists at Stanford University conducted research on mindfulness. They discovered that when people focus on the present moment, anxiety levels drop by an average of 25%. This number is not just a statistic, but proof of the healing power the Buddha pointed out thousands of years ago. To experience this, try a simple practice right now. Inhale deeply. Feel the cool air entering your chest. Exhale slowly. Feel the warmth leaving your body. Just 5 breaths like this can bring you back to the present. A true story. Maria, a teacher in California, once went through a period of severe stress. She constantly worried about lessons, students, and family pressure. But when she learned how to be in the present, she began pausing for a few minutes during class just to breathe. Slowly, she realized that most of her worries only lived in her thoughts, while the real moment, where she stood, where her students laughed, was far more peaceful. When you are truly present, anxiety has no soil in which to grow. Imagine you are walking in a park. Instead of thinking about tomorrow's meeting or unpaid bills, notice the birds singing, the sunlight streaming through the leaves, and the feeling of your feet touching the ground. Every small detail reminds you, you are here. Ajahn Chah once said, "If you let go of the past and the future, you will see there is only one thing to take care of, this present moment." In modern American culture, we often hear the phrase, "Be here now." That saying is, in fact, an echo of Buddhist teachings. You can make the present a place of refuge. When anxiety arises, ask yourself, "Am I safe right now?" 99% of the time, the answer will be yes. Because most of the dangers you fear have not even happened. Another helpful practice is mindful eating. When you eat, truly eat. Feel the taste, the aroma, the warmth of your food. Do not eat while thinking about a dozen tasks ahead. Just enjoy each bite. You will see anxiety naturally decrease. Many hospitals in the United States have added mindfulness to therapy programs. Doctors found that patients who focused on the present recovered faster, with significant reductions in anxiety and stress. This proves that the Buddha's teachings are not only philosophy, but also a living medicine for today's life. Practicing presence is not complicated. You only need to choose one moment in the day to come back. It could be when you drink your morning coffee. Instead of rushing to scroll through your phone, close your eyes, breathe in, and enjoy the smell of coffee. That 1 minute can change your whole day. Or when you are stuck in traffic, an experience very familiar in New York or Los Angeles. Instead of getting frustrated, place your hands on the steering wheel, feel your breath, and remind yourself, right now, I am okay. In the most stressful situations, the present moment can become the strongest medicine. If you find it difficult, remember that even great meditation masters once struggled to keep their minds in the present. But they always returned to this breath, this step. And so can you. When you are truly present, you will witness the miracle. Anxiety dissolves, leaving behind a wide open space in the heart. To make living in the present more practical, you can start with a small habit called the mindfulness bell. Choose an everyday sound, like the ping of a text message, or the ring of a clock, and turn it into a reminder to come back to the present. Each time the sound arises, instead of rushing to react, pause, take a deep breath, and smile. You can also try an exercise called the 5 senses. When anxiety shows up, look around and notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This exercise pulls you back to reality by awakening your senses, instead of letting your mind wander into a future that has not arrived. A student at a meditation center in Boston once shared that, after only a few weeks of practicing present moment living, she noticed her sleep improved, her late-night anxiety decreased, and her relationships with family grew warmer. Because when she truly listened to every word, every smile from her child, she was no longer swept away by scattered thoughts. The Buddha once taught, "The present moment is a gift. When we treasure that gift, The mind no longer has room for fear. Try it today. When walking, feel each step. When eating, enjoy each small bite. When talking, look into the other person's eyes. All of these bring you back to the present, where anxiety cannot reach. And if you forget sometimes, do not blame yourself. Remember that practice is a journey, not a finish line. Each time you return to the present, it is a small victory, and those small victories add up to great peace. Once you become familiar with living in the present, you will begin to realize a simple truth. Happiness is not waiting in tomorrow, nor locked in yesterday. It is always right here, in every breath, in every step, in every smile. 3. Let go of the need to control. Letting go of the need to control brings us a profound sense of freedom. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha taught that everything is impermanent. You cannot hold the sun still in the sky, nor can you stop the rain from falling. The only thing you can do is choose to stand firm in the rain and smile at the light when it arrives. In modern life, many Americans believe they can control almost everything: work, plans, finances, even the emotions of others. But the truth is, the more you try to control, the more disappointment you invite. It is like trying to hold sand tightly in your hand. The harder you squeeze, the more it slips away. When things do not go as planned, when projects fail, plans collapse, or relationships break down, we often feel anxious because we believe we should have controlled the outcome. But the Buddha reminds us that this pain comes from attachment. When you let go of the need to control, you open space for peace to enter. Imagine standing in a storm. If you fight against the wind, you will be exhausted. But if you breathe and accept that storms pass, you will find yourself much lighter. Research at the University of Michigan shows that people who practice letting go of control recover their mental well-being 40% faster after setbacks. This proves that letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. A real story. Linda, a woman in Texas, once felt extreme anxiety after losing her job. She tried to control everything, sending out applications every day, calculating her budget down to the last cent. But the harder she tried, the more exhausted she became. One day, in a meditation class, she learned that the only thing she could control was her response. Instead of panicking, she began spending 10 minutes a day meditating and journaling. Within a few months, Linda found a new job, and more importantly, she learned how to live more gently with uncertainty. The Buddha taught, "No one ever steps in the same river twice. That river is always changing, just like life. You cannot control its flow, but you can learn to swim with it." To practice, you can start with a small question each time anxiety appears. Is this within my control? If the answer is yes, then act. If it is no, then release it. For example, you can control slowing your breath, choosing to smile, or being kind to someone. But you cannot control the weather, the stock market, or the thoughts of others. Another study at Yale University found that people who practice distinguishing what can be controlled, what cannot, showed a significant drop in daily stress. They focused their energy on what they could do, instead of wasting it on what was impossible. Try a simple exercise right now. Think about something you have worried about recently. Write it down. Then make 2 columns, I can control and I cannot control. Place each item into its proper column. Finally, commit to act only on what is in the can control column. This exercise is like taking a heavy weight off your shoulders, and you will feel relief immediately. In American culture, we often hear the slogan, "Take control of your life." But perhaps the wiser phrase is, "Take control of your response," because that is what truly lies in your hands. A friend of mine in Chicago once shared that he lived for decades under stress from trying to control every situation. But when he learned the lesson of letting go, he said, "I felt liberated. Instead of being a prisoner of life, I became its companion." Letting go of control is not passivity or surrender. It is the acceptance that some things are beyond our reach, and the courage to focus on what we can change. When you let go, you lose nothing. On the contrary, you discover peace. You can clearly see the power of letting go through the image of a boat on a river. If you try to paddle against the current with all your strength, you will soon be exhausted. But if you release the oars and allow the water to carry you, you will discover that you can still move forward without having to fight against the entire universe. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once wrote, "Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness." Freedom here does not mean doing whatever you want, but rather being released from the burden of what you cannot control. An American soldier, after returning from the battlefield in Iraq, shared that he was haunted by memories and plagued with sleepless nights. He tried to control his mind by forcing himself to forget, but the harder he tried, the more the memories consumed him. It was only when he joined a meditation retreat that he learned to let go of control, to accept that those memories existed, but they did not define his entire being. Through this, he gradually found peace again. The interesting thing is, letting go of control does not mean giving up effort. On the contrary, it helps you focus more on practical actions. When you stop wasting energy on what is beyond your reach, you gain more strength to care for the things you truly can do. So each time you feel anxious, ask yourself, what can I do right now? It might be as simple as taking a deep breath. It might be smiling at yourself, or doing a kind act for someone else. These small things can become the first steps in transforming anxiety. Letting go of the need to control is not a skill learned in just a day or two. It is a journey. One small step, one breath at a time. But with each practice, you are planting a seed of peace in your heart. And little by little, that seed will grow into true freedom. 4. Difficulties are opportunities for growth. Challenges are not the end of the road, but rather the doorway that leads us to growth. The Buddha once taught, suffering is the path to enlightenment. At first, this teaching may sound paradoxical, but when you look deeper, you will see that it is precisely hardships that cultivate our strength and compassion. Think back to a difficult period in your life. It might have been the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, or facing an illness. In those moments, anxiety seemed to cover everything. But as time passed, many people realized that the hardship itself taught them something precious. Patience, compassion, or the strength to rise again. Sarah, a woman in California, is a clear example. When the pandemic struck, she lost her job in the service industry and sank into financial anxiety. But instead of collapsing, Sarah began volunteering at a community center. There, she helped distribute food to families even more in need than she was. And in that process, Sarah discovered a new joy, the joy of giving. Hardship opened a new path for her, a better version of herself. In the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha emphasized that suffering is the first truth of life. But suffering does not come to punish. It comes to guide. Like an arrow pointing forward, challenges help us see what truly matters. A study at the University of Pennsylvania showed that people who went through hardships but chose to view them as opportunities to learn developed resilience 35% higher than those who saw hardship only as disaster. This means that your perspective decides whether a difficulty will crush you or lift you up. Try a small practice. Next time you face a challenge, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this challenge teaching me?" It might teach you patience. It might teach you to let go of your ego. Or it might teach you to open your heart to others. A student at a meditation center in Colorado shared that, during the painful time of divorce, she turned to meditation as an escape. At first, tears fell during every sitting, but gradually, she realized that the pain was teaching her to love herself more, to accept what could not be changed, and to cherish moments of peace when they came. Imagine the lotus flower. It can only bloom in mud. Without the mud, there would never be the lotus. In the same way, it is hardships, the mud of life, that nourish our souls so we can blossom like a pure lotus. In American culture, we often celebrate stories of resilience. An athlete who returns after injury, a business person who rises after failure, or an ordinary person who finds faith again after loss. These stories move us because they reflect the truth that hardship can be a stepping stone, not a pitfall. The Buddha never promised that life would be free of suffering. He pointed out that if we know how to reflect, suffering becomes the teacher, and the student who listens will find wisdom. Hardships are also like a tall mountain. When you stand at the base, it looks enormous, threatening, and makes you want to give up. But as you climb step by step, you not only grow stronger, but you also gain the chance to see the breathtaking view from above. An American veteran once shared that after losing a close friend in war, he fell into deep depression. But instead of letting grief drown him, he chose to take part in community programs supporting fellow veterans. He said, "That loss will never disappear, but it taught me to value life and to give more." For him, hardship became an opportunity to cultivate compassion. One practice you can try is to write down 3 things a recent difficulty has taught you. It might be patience while waiting, the courage to face fear, or the humility of realizing you need help. By writing it down, you are turning hardship into a lesson instead of just a wound. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "Whoever sees suffering sees the path. That path is not easy, but every step along it takes you closer to inner freedom. And remember, no one grows in their comfort zone. It is challenges, failures, and falls that teach us how to stand firm." When you look back, you will clearly see hardship did not destroy you. It shaped the person you are today. So next time life brings you a storm, do not only ask, "Why me?" Try asking, "What can I learn from this storm?" Because it is in the mud that the lotus can bloom. 5. Do not react to everything. Not reacting to everything is an art of protecting your inner peace. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, "One who conquers anger finds peace." Picture a still lake. When a stone falls into it, ripples appear immediately. But if the lake is deep and calm, the ripples soon fade, and the original stillness returns. Your mind works in the same way. Every harsh word, every upsetting event is like a stone falling into the water. But if you learn not to react right away, your inner stillness will keep you from being swept away. In modern American life, it is easy to react. A co-worker says something unpleasant. Someone cuts you off on the freeway. A negative comment pops up on social media. The first impulse is to get angry, argue, or defend yourself. But that very reaction robs you of your peace. Research at Yale University shows that people who practice restraining emotional reactions reduce daily stress levels by 20%. This does not mean they suppress emotions, but that they learn to create a pause between stimulus and response. Try a small exercise. Next time someone upsets you, instead of responding immediately, take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Ask yourself, is this worth losing my peace over? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be number. A real story. James, an Uber driver in New York, shared that he used to lose his temper easily with rude passengers. But after learning mindfulness, every time he faced a difficult situation, he reminded himself, this is just a small challenge. Instead of reacting, he chose silence and focused on his breath. As a result, he felt less stressed and even received better ratings from his customers. The Buddha once said, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, the wise are not moved by praise or blame. That is a beautiful image of a steady soul standing firm in the storm. Another study at the University of California showed that people who paused before reacting made wiser decisions 30% more often. When you are not swept away by anger, wisdom has space to emerge. Imagine you are in a heated argument. If you react immediately, the fire only grows larger. But if you stop, breathe, and choose silence for a few seconds, you prevent the flames from spreading. A meditation teacher once compared silence to a locked door. It keeps anger from rushing out and harming others. When you hold on to that silence, you protect both yourself and the person in front of you. In American culture, we often hear the phrase, "Don't take the bait." Yet most of us unconsciously take the bait when someone provokes us. The practice of not reacting is learning to put down the hook, refusing to be pulled into someone else's game. A practical exercise. Choose one small situation each day in which you do not react. It could be in traffic, when someone cuts in line, or when a family member complains. Notice the feeling rising in your body, and instead of reacting, simply smile. You will see yourself grow stronger when circumstances no longer control you. Not reacting does not mean indifference or coldness. It simply gives you the space to choose a wiser response. Because reacting is unconscious. Responding is conscious. And in that difference, peace is protected. Not reacting is like planting a seed of peace in your mind. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, like holding back a natural instinct. But over time, that seed will sprout and grow into inner strength. A friend of mine in Los Angeles shared that he used to get angry very easily when reading political news on social media. Just a few comments, and he would jump into arguments, leaving him upset for the entire day. But ever since he began practicing the one breath before reacting exercise, he pauses, inhales, exhales, and then decides whether to respond. 80% of the time, he chooses silence. And that very silence has kept his heart at peace. The Buddha once reminded his disciples, when insulted, be like a bell that does not ring. A bell only rings when it is struck. But if you do not let the words of others strike your heart, the bell remains silent. You can apply this today. When someone says something unpleasant, instead of letting your heart race and your words explode, ask yourself, if I remain silent, what will happen? Most of the time, nothing bad will happen at all. On the contrary, you protect your peace and avoid hurting others. A study at Harvard University showed that delaying your reaction for just 10 seconds is enough to lower stress in the brain and help you think more clearly. So each time you feel like exploding, remember, with just 10 seconds of breathing, you can preserve precious calm. Not reacting is a choice. And each time you choose peace over explosion, you are training a mental muscle. Just like exercise, the more you practice, the stronger you become. And one day you will realize it is not circumstances that determine your peace, but the way you choose to face them. 6. Transforming anxiety into wisdom. Transforming anxiety into wisdom is one of the most profound paths the Buddha taught. He once said that suffering itself is the great teacher. If we know how to listen, every worry carries within it a valuable lesson. When you lose someone you love, anxiety often appears as emptiness, fear, or grief. But if we pause and observe, that anxiety can teach us to treasure every moment we still have with our loved ones. Mark, a man in California, once went through the shock of losing his father. At first, he was surrounded by anxiety, afraid of losing others, afraid of impermanence. But through practicing mindfulness meditation, he learned to look directly at his anxiety. He kept a daily journal, asking himself, "What is this anxiety teaching me?" Over time, he realized, anxiety taught him to value life, to love while he still could. And from there, wisdom was born in his heart. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha encouraged us to contemplate even unpleasant emotions such as fear and worry. He did not teach us to avoid them, nor to suppress them. He taught us to look directly, to recognize, and to learn from them. A study from Stanford University showed that when participants wrote down their worries and analyzed what they learned from them, their anxiety levels dropped by up to 25%. This is scientific evidence for Buddhist wisdom. Anxiety can become an opportunity for insight. Think of a recent anxiety in your life. Perhaps fear of failing at work, fear of losing financial security, or fear about your health. Now ask, what is this anxiety trying to teach me? It might be teaching you to prepare more carefully. It might be teaching you to appreciate the present moment. Or it might simply remind you that life is fragile and precious. Another story. Jennifer, a medical student in Boston, once suffered such severe anxiety during her final exams that she lost sleep. Instead of treating anxiety as an enemy, she chose to see it as a message. Anxiety was telling her, "This path matters, so prepare more mindfully." By doing so, Jennifer turned her anxiety into motivation for conscious study, and eventually she passed with excellent results. In American culture, many people often see anxiety as a sign of weakness. But the Buddha offers another view. Anxiety is an opportunity to learn about impermanence and attachment. When we dare to face it, anxiety becomes a gentle teacher. Try a small practice right now. Close your eyes. Think of an anxiety present in your heart. Place your hand on your chest and ask, "What message does this anxiety hold for me?" You may not have the answer right away, but the act of listening itself is already the beginning of wisdom. A study at the University of Michigan found that people who could reinterpret anxiety as a lesson suffered less from chronic stress and recovered more quickly after crises. The Buddha once said, "In charcoal lies a shining gem. In suffering lies the seed of enlightenment." Anxiety, if transformed, can become a jewel of clarity in your mind. And remember, wisdom does not come from avoiding difficult emotions. It comes from having the courage to sit with them, to look straight at them, and to smile. To make this easier to apply, you can try a writing exercise called the Journal of Wisdom. Each time anxiety arises, write down: 1. What is this anxiety? 2. How does it make me feel in my body? 3. What might it be teaching me about life, about myself? By writing it out, you not only release some of the stressful energy, but you also turn anxiety into a teacher through words. An American man named David practiced this after losing his job in the tech industry. At first, he only wrote negative lines: "I am a failure, I am not good enough." But after a month, he realized that anxiety was teaching him humility, the need to build new skills, and the chance to explore a different path that suited him better. Today, David works in the non-profit sector and feels more fulfilled than ever. The important thing is that you do not deny anxiety, nor let it swallow you whole. You face it, listen, and learn. That is the spirit of Buddhism: transformation, not escape. A Tibetan master once said, "If you embrace your fear and ask where it comes from, it will vanish like morning mist." Anxiety is the same. When we dare to sit with it, it softens, and wisdom reveals itself. Try this practice today. When an anxious thought arises, instead of pushing it away, smile and whisper, "Thank you for teaching me." That very moment of gratitude transforms anxiety into a lesson and you into a wiser student. And then you will see, anxiety is no longer a burden, but a doorway to wisdom. 7. Faith dispels anxiety. Faith can dispel the darkness of anxiety, just as a small candle can light up an entire room. In the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, the Buddha once taught, "Be a light unto yourself." This means that when you trust in your own ability, you are no longer led by anxiety. In difficult times, faith is like an anchor that keeps the boat from drifting away. Think back to a moment when you overcame a challenge that seemed impossible. It might have been an illness, a financial setback, or heartbreak. What carried you through? Often, it was faith. Faith that you were strong enough, that things would change, that you were not alone. Research from Stanford University shows that people who maintain faith in themselves have 35% greater resilience against stress. Faith here is not blind belief, but the memory of real experiences that you have overcome before, and you can do it again. A real story: Emily, a nurse in New Jersey, once fell into severe anxiety when the pandemic began. She witnessed many patients pass away and often felt helpless. But instead of letting fear consume her, Emily found faith by remembering the Buddha's teaching, "In darkness, the brightest lamp is within your heart." She believed that if she stayed calm and compassionate, she could bring comfort to her patients. And that very faith gave her the strength to stand firm in harsh circumstances. In today's American life, pressures from work, family, and society cause many to lose faith in themselves. They think they are not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. But the truth is, within each of us lies a hidden strength. Faith is the key that unlocks it. The Buddha did not teach us to seek faith outside ourselves. He taught us to become the light for our own lives. When you ignite the flame of faith in your heart, the path becomes clearer, even in the dark. Try a simple practice to nurture faith. Each morning, recall a time you overcame anxiety in the past. Write it down and remind yourself, "If I did it once, I can do it again." This practice builds solid faith based on real experience. Another study at Yale University found that repeating daily affirmations can significantly reduce anxiety. For example, you can whisper, "I am strong enough," "I am learning every day," or "I am a light for myself." When repeated often, these phrases gradually rewire the brain, replacing fear with faith. A man named Robert in Chicago once lived many years in anxiety after losing his job. But when he joined a meditation retreat, he learned to cultivate faith each day. He wrote down 3 affirmations and read them aloud in front of the mirror. At first, he felt silly, but after a few weeks, he felt a real change. Faith slowly replaced fear, and he found the courage to begin a new career in a completely different field. Faith does not always have to be grand. Sometimes it is as simple as believing that things will change, or I can make it through one more day. Those small pieces of faith add up to great strength. Remember, anxiety often comes from the mind projecting the worst-case scenarios. Faith is the balancing force, reminding us that right now we are okay, and the future still holds many beautiful possibilities. Faith is like a seed in the soil. At first, it may be very small, almost invisible. But if you nurture it with daily practice, that seed will sprout, grow tall, and one day become a great tree that shades and soothes the soul. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "When you have faith in the path, you will find peace even before reaching the destination." Faith allows us to walk through the uncertainty of life without being paralyzed by anxiety. You can begin with a small daily commitment. Upon waking, say to yourself, "Today I will trust that I am capable." That simple sentence, repeated long enough, becomes inner strength. Another story. Anna, a single mother in Texas, once fell into an anxiety crisis after losing her job while raising 2 young children. But she regained her faith by joining a community meditation group. There, she was reminded, "You have overcome countless hardships before, and you are still standing here." That reminder became her guiding light. Today, Anna not only stabilized her life, but also became an inspiration to other mothers. The miracle of faith is that it not only heals you, but also spreads to others. When you hold firm in faith, your children, your friends, or your co-workers will feel that energy too. And in that way, anxiety no longer dominates, but is replaced by hope and peace. Remember this, anxiety can be contagious, but so can faith. So what do you want to plant in the world around you? And one day, you will realize, anxiety is no longer the darkness that surrounds you, because within you, the lamp of faith has already begun to shine. 8. Walking meditation to calm the mind. Walking meditation, meditating while walking, is a wonderful method to calm an anxious mind. The Buddha and his disciples practiced walking meditation every day as a way to nurture mindfulness in each step. In modern American life, many people turn to yoga or running to reduce stress. But walking meditation offers something different. It requires no speed, no achievements. It only asks you to be present in every step. Imagine you are walking in the park in the morning. Sunlight filters through the leaves, birds sing in the distance, and you take each step slowly. Breathing in, you know you are stepping in. Breathing out, you know you are stepping out. Each step becomes a reminder that you are here, safe and at peace. Research at Stanford University shows that practicing walking meditation for just 20 minutes a day can reduce stress by up to 40% and improve sleep. This is not only a spiritual experience, but also a scientific therapy for both body and mind. A real story. Thomas, a software engineer in Seattle, once sank into anxiety from a high-pressure job. He discovered walking meditation while attending a short retreat. At first, moving so slowly felt strange and unnatural. But gradually, he began to sense the peace in each step. Now, every lunch break, He spends 15 minutes walking in a park near his office, and he says it is the most important part of his day to stay balanced. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha advised his disciples to practice mindful walking. He said that even while walking, if we walk with mindfulness, we can free ourselves from afflictions. You can start walking meditation today, wherever you are. If you live in the city, try walking in a park or along a quiet street. If you live in the countryside, walk down a familiar dirt road. What matters is not the place, but the attitude of presence. A simple practice: with your left step, silently say, arriving. With your right step, silently say, going. Arriving with peace, going with calm. Each step becomes a living breath, a prayer for stillness. Research from Harvard University also shows that combining walking meditation with mindful breathing increases focus and reduces anxiety faster than sitting meditation alone, because both body and mind join in a natural rhythm. A woman named Linda in New York shared that after years of struggling with anxiety, she found her greatest peace walking mindfully in Central Park. She said, "When I walk in mindfulness, it feels like the entire noisy city disappears. It is just me, each step, and the silence." The wonderful thing is, walking meditation does not require much time. Just 5 minutes a day can make a difference. And those 5 minutes, if truly present, can be more precious than an hour of chasing worries. Walking meditation can also become a family habit. Many parents in the United States have tried taking their children for slow evening walks, breathing together as they walk. The result is not only reduced anxiety for the parents, but also planting the seeds of mindfulness in their children. The Buddha once taught, "The path to peace is not far away, it is right beneath your feet." And walking meditation is living proof of that truth. Walking meditation can also become a healing ritual at the end of the day. After finishing work, instead of diving straight into your phone or television, take a few minutes to step outside and walk slowly. Each step is like releasing the anxiety that has built up throughout the day. A doctor in California shared that he often felt exhausted after night shifts. But since practicing walking meditation around the hospital grounds, he has felt his mind settle, his sleep deepen, and even the pressure of his profession become lighter. He said, "Each step reminds me that I am still alive, and that itself is a miracle." You can also combine walking meditation with gratitude. As you walk, silently say, "Thank you, feet, for carrying me all day. Thank you for the fresh air I am breathing." When gratitude walks with your steps, anxiety melts away. In America's busy culture, where everyone is always rushing, walking meditation feels like a gentle act of resistance. It reminds us that we do not always have to run. Sometimes, just by slowing down, the inner world changes. And if you think you do not have time, remember, walking meditation can be done anywhere, from an office hallway, a parking lot, even in your own small room. What matters is not the distance, but the presence. Challenge yourself. This week, dedicate at least 5 minutes each day to walking meditation. After 1 week, ask yourself, is my mind calmer? Most likely, the answer will be yes. Walking meditation is a simple path, but it carries infinite power. And with every mindful step you take, you are stepping away from anxiety and moving closer to wisdom and peace. 9. Gratitude opens the door to peace. Gratitude holds a magical power in opening the doorway to inner peace. The Buddha once taught that when we cultivate gratitude, the mind becomes softer, clearer, and filled with joy. In modern life, anxiety often arises because we focus on what we lack, what we might lose, or what is not yet perfect. Gratitude is the antidote. When you turn back to notice what you already have, anxiety has no soil to take root. A study at Yale University found that people who practiced writing down 3 things they were grateful for each day after 8 weeks increased their happiness by 25% and significantly reduced anxiety. This shows that gratitude is not only a spiritual attitude, but also a scientific therapy. Try a moment right now. Close your eyes and think of 3 things you are grateful for today. It could be a warm cup of coffee in the morning, a smile from a stranger on the street, or simply the breath still flowing in your chest. As you do this, you will feel anxiety ease, making space for peace. A real story. Michael, a businessman in California, once sank into anxiety when his company collapsed. He lost money, reputation, and felt as if he had lost everything. But during a retreat, he was guided to keep a gratitude journal. At first, it felt awkward, because it seemed like there was nothing left to be grateful for. But gradually, he began to write small things. I still have my health. I have a close friend who did not leave me. I still have the chance to start again. After just a few months, Michael said gratitude had saved him from the abyss of anxiety and brought him back to life. The Buddha once taught, a grateful person is the richest person. Because true wealth does not lie in possessions, but in a heart that appreciates. You can also turn gratitude into a family ritual. Many American families have tried sharing 3 things I am grateful for at dinner. When each person speaks their gratitude, the atmosphere warms and the anxiety within each member begins to dissolve. Another study at the University of California showed that couples who regularly shared gratitude had stronger relationships and fewer conflicts. Because when we are grateful, we focus less on flaws and more on the goodness others bring into our lives. Picture this. You are walking along the beach at sunset. Instead of thinking about tomorrow's worries, you pause, breathe, and whisper, "Thank you for this moment." Instantly, your heart softens and you touch the peace already within you. In American culture, many people practice the gratitude jar. Each day, they write one thing they are grateful for on a small piece of paper and place it in the jar. When anxiety comes, they open the jar and read them again. Those little slips of paper become spiritual treasures, reminding them they are not as lacking as their anxious mind once made them believe. Gratitude also connects us with others. When you express thanks to someone, a kind word to a co-worker, a message of gratitude to a friend, not only does that person feel joy, but you yourself are healed. The Buddha taught, a grateful heart is fertile soil for all good seeds. When the heart is full of gratitude, anxiety and fear have no place to stay. To practice gratitude, you do not need anything grand. Sometimes it is simply being grateful for a modest meal, an encouraging message, or a warm morning filled with sunlight. These small things, when recognized, accumulate into a powerful source of positive energy. A woman named Grace in Florida once shared that after many years of living with anxiety, she began writing down 3 things she was grateful for every night before bed. At first, she only wrote familiar things like, "Thank you because I am still alive." But over time, her list grew longer. "Thank you for the cool afternoon rain. Thank you because my cat sat beside me. Thank you because I smiled at myself." And she noticed that anxiety gradually left, making room for gentle peace. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha emphasized that a grateful person will always find joy, even in adversity. This means gratitude does not erase hardship, but it changes the way you see hardship. A small practice you can try today. Send a thank you message to someone who has helped you, even in a small way. It could be thanking a co-worker for their support at work, or thanking a friend for listening to your story. When you do this, you not only give joy, but you yourself are nourished by that positive energy. And finally, remember this: gratitude not only soothes anxiety, but it also opens the door to a more fulfilling life. Because when we are grateful, we are living in presence, in appreciation, and in love. Gratitude is the key. Once you hold it in your hand, you will see that peace has never truly left you. My dear friend, we have just journeyed together through 9 Buddhist practices to overcome anxiety in difficult times. From realizing that thoughts are not the truth, to living in the present moment, letting go of control, seeing hardship as an opportunity for growth, protecting peace by not reacting, transforming anxiety into wisdom, cultivating faith, practicing mindful walking, and opening the heart with gratitude. Each of these steps is a reminder that peace has always been within you. I want to invite you to challenge yourself. Dedicate at least 5 minutes a day for the next 7 days to practicing one of these methods. After a week, come back and share your experience in the comments to inspire the community. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this video if you found it helpful. Your journey back to peace begins in this very moment.